Await no longer. Greatness has arrived. Welcome to the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players, where each and every Thursday, me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest and greatest in all things PlayStation. And today is a special episode because it's technically, sort of, kind of, not really episode 100 of the Trophy Room. And just like in, just organic Trophy Room fashion, I kind of messed up this week's episode. So, along with me for half of the show is our great friend, Mr. MLS Reserves himself, Mr. Luke Loy. How are you, sir?
I'm good, and I prefer the digital name Ghost.
Okay. Oh, I'm so sorry. Introducing the insipid ghost, Mr. Luke Loy from the Xbox Drive. What's up, man?
Not much, buddy. Good to see you. Thank you for letting me check in here and help out. I appreciate it. It's always fun to get on with you. We play games every week, but it's nice to podcast and pontificate with you.
It's so this episode, I recorded it last night, and Kyle tried to be a trooper, and he was just like, Joe, I'm sick. The kids got me sick because he's doing the summer camp that he always does, and he got pink eye. He was feeling flu-like symptoms, and he's just like, Joe, I'll tell you by 7 o'clock, because we usually record around 8 or 9. I'm like, okay, cool. And he's like, I'm going to try to soldier it out. And when he got on the video, I got literally concerned, because he looked like he was in a bar fight, and I don't know who won. And so we were trying to do this thing where, he was coughing up a lung, and I was just like, just hit the mute button on your Focusrite when you're about to cough. And what ended up happening was the mic was sending me weird signals. So when he was going to talk, it sounded insanely low. And then insanely pitchy. And so it was just a very awkward first half of the episode. And I have to give a huge shout out to Kyle for trying to make it work. But what we're going to do this episode is, Luke, you're here for the first half for the news. And then for the latter half, when we get to the Trophy Room highlights, the memories, and the questions, well, don't worry. We're going to bring the second half of last night's episode here. So it's going to be great. I hope you all are in for the ride of your life. With that, we're going to be talking about Wall Street's Journal article about the PlayStation 5. Is PlayStation 5 maybe possibly looking to buy out some studios? Alan Wake gets its studio back, and so much more. Before we talk about all that stuff, Luke, I got a question for you.
Yes,
sir.
What
have you been playing, sir? What have we been playing? More like it.
You and I have been enjoying two games quite a bit of late. Gears of War, we got back into and hyped the new one. But Apex Season 2, I think, is our main one, yeah?
Yeah, man. And our first match together, you, me, and Hometown Hero, we clutched it. I wouldn't like to say that I did it all, but, I mean, the numbers don't lie, The
numbers don't lie. And we'll call a spade a spade. And I often joke with you. You definitely carry the team. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. But I like to think that we play a good support character.
Yeah, you know what? We do. I kid. Dude, how are you liking Apex Season 2? And the Battle Pass? Because I know Season 1 was just a little, underwhelming is really putting it kindly. Yeah.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Early impressions, of course, we're recording, 2-3 days after it launched. Early impressions are positive. It looks to me like they are looking to rectify some of that underwhelming content from Season 1. They even went back and retroactively added stuff for Season 1 players kind of towards the end of that, which I thought was nice. But Season 2, man, the map looks great. The Battle Pass looks to be much improved. Rates looked improved. And I have no problem giving this game that I've put 100-plus hours into. I have no problem throwing a few extra dollars their way because it's clearly a good case of an EA game supporting its content and its player base.
And done right.
Absolutely.
It never feels like they're nickel and diming you. And yeah, the content for the most part, this Battle Pass, it's not the best Battle Pass I've ever seen, especially coming from the things we see from Fortnite, but it's good. You see, they're laying down the foundation. They get it. Could it be better? Absolutely. But it's a great step in the right direction, at least for me. And again, this game's free. Right. So I don't feel bad like you throwing $10 at it and getting that progression. Some of the weapon skins are really awesome. Some of them not so great, but that just is the ebb and flow of just anything. So yeah,
absolutely.
Apex Season 2, great. You played a little bit of Gears. Okay,
Hmm.
fine. This is a trophy room, but you're helping me out. How
Hmm.
you liking it?
Oh, I mean, what a great game!
It
It's
is.
just
I'm
a,
not
it's
gonna
just a
lie.
great, it's just a great game. You and I both we joke a lot, but we love great games and
Yeah.
getting to jump on and play that together. Also playing an indie game called Super Blood Hockey,
Mhm.
in which you can rupture opponents' spleens and wreck people and that, and so that's kind of fun.
Dude, I
We
hear
played that.
nothing but good things about that game. Nothing.
Oh, it's ridiculous and silly and an absolute blast. I love it, and it's got that retro feel, that old school art style. That's fun.
Yeah, yeah. I also played a little bit of Crash Team Racing, but we'll talk about that game a whole lot later in the show. So with that, Luke, I got a
Yes,
question
sir.
for you.
Yes,
We
sir.
have these things called goobers. You hate them, but I love them.
Mm-hmm,
What's the
mm-hmm.
first goober of the show, sir?
Our first goober comes from the Wall Street Journal's Takashi Mashizuki, and it says Sony positions the next PlayStation for hardcore gamers, and this has to do largely with its marketing. The story reads: Sony is concentrating its attention on large software publishers as it gets ready for the next PlayStation. According to executives at Sony, and software makers in general, publishers want their games on multiple platforms to maximize sales, while console makers look to make deals for exclusive content for an initial period of exclusive sales. Sony sees Microsoft as its main competitor in the next generation, which I thought personally was quite notable.
Yeah.
While with Google as a potential threat to the mid and long term as technology advances. And one company official said that Nintendo is not perceived as a major rival, which I also joked that all of that took big note for me. Um, PlayStation has been one of the most successful mass market products of the past quarter century, with PlayStation 4 alone expected to pass 100 million units this year. Sony's latest thinking puts less stress on overall sales numbers and more on the most profitable segment of the market, the devoted fans who buy big budget titles such as the Bethesda Softworks Fallout series and Take Two Software's Red Dead Redemption. You want me to read this whole thing? Because this is good.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
The second Sony.
Right.
Oh,
I'll stop. I'll stop you right there. That's actually
okay.
a perfect way to kind of end the quote here. So first things first, PlayStation, Microsoft, main competitors. I think that's a no-brainer. What do
Hmm.
you feel about Sony's thoughts on Google Stadia as the mainline like midterm like competitor? Does it kind of show that they are also iffy about how long Stadia is gonna last per se? I could use better words, but are they kind of looking at them like, you gonna be here in 5 years? Like, what do you think?
I think it's Sony's approach seems extremely logical. Microsoft and the Xbox specifically is going to be our primary competitor out the gate. PlayStation
Yeah,
5 launches, Scarlet launches, we're competing with sales. That's a headline every month for the
yeah,
first few months. And Stadia doesn't specifically launch a product, it launches a service, and so that headline's different. And if that service catches on in the midway through this generation range, it's likely that they would see Stadia eating into sales of PS5 or Xbox or any other major competitor.
all right,
But I think it's very appropriate that Sony's wording things this way. But it surprises me for them to be so blunt about it, perhaps.
right. It's
But
weird. It's weird that they're going, okay, look, here's our battle plan for the most
right.
part, like surface level, you know.
Hmm. And
Um,
it's remarkable because Microsoft hasn't said that. Microsoft, its approach seems to be Stadia is the primary competitor, Nintendo not at all. Sony is a factor amongst it, but it's almost like they're positioning to fight two or play two different games.
yeah, they're instead of trying to fight a war on two fronts, they're not conceding, but they're drawing the line in the sand with PlayStation. Like, all right, that's your ballpark. This is ours, right? This is our faction. Now, when it comes to the streaming, we're going to compete for that theoretical 200 million, cloud gamer thing with
Mm-hmm.
Google. It's pretty much saying, yeah, Sony, again, I could use better words. You won the physical landscape. We have our audience. You have yours.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think we can expand outward in a different direction rather than trying to fight this forever 100-year war, just stalemate with PlayStation all the time. We can
Sure.
actually expand out into something different. It's weird because I know that one of the members at the Inner Circle podcast, they do a Xbox show, and they're just like, this is coming from a person that loves Xbox. It's just like there's something weird about Microsoft just singing Kumbaya, and it is something I I don't want them to typically do, and I'm just paraphrasing here. I like the boldness from PlayStation of like, here's what we're doing. Here's our battle plan. Do you appreciate what Microsoft's doing more in terms of like I know you're the Xbox guy, but like do you appreciate the Kumbaya spirit, or do you want them to be, that competitor fight the war on two fronts? Like what do you feel is beneficial to the brand for you as a consumer?
Oh goodness, I'm of two minds because we've seen Xbox do the opposite. World's most powerful console,
Yeah.
games, games, games. We're not that TV dot metrics in the past. Like we've seen them do that, but they don't have the IP to do anything but Kumbaya at this
Yeah.
point because much of what they offer, much of what Xbox offers, is either multiplayer centric
Mm-hmm.
exclusives or service based. And those multiplayer games serve those services having the online features. And
Yep.
so it makes sense, but it is surprising nonetheless because I think if they had more single player narrative driven experiences, we would see them kind of going down that gauntlet to fight PlayStation or Nintendo one on one, but they don't have the IP to do that. So it makes sense, and it doesn't necessarily make me nervous, but it's hard to to put my stake in the ground and say I love or I hate this because like anybody, I think there's stuff that I like and stuff that I don't
Yeah.
like. I do.
Yeah.
I need some more PlayStation style narratives.
Mm-hmm. And what do you feel about right now? And I'll read the last paragraph after this because I find it really interesting. But how do you like Sony's approach of, hey, listen, instead of like going to E3, let's just talk to some journalists. Like, let's talk to Wired. Let's talk about, let's talk to the Wall Street Journal. Like, how do you like that approach? Because you were in the room with the Xbox event, right, at E3. Now we're what, like 2-3 weeks removed. Do you feel like that big event played off like better than this smaller journalistic approach Sony's taking?
Uh, do you mean in the Microsoft sense, like their move to go where Sony didn't?
Yes. Yeah. Do you feel like that was a better way to pre-launch something? I
I
guess.
think I think both Sony and Microsoft did exactly what they had to do,
Mm-hmm.
or could afford to do in this generation. If Microsoft had taken this E3 off the way that Sony had, we would have been singing the death throes of Xbox. It would have been done.
Oh, really? Okay.
They needed to be there because
Mm-hmm.
otherwise it would have said, "Oh, they've lost 2-1 to PlayStation in terms of unit sales." And it looks like Microsoft's not even willing to fight. Whereas Sony can afford to sit out this one because
Yeah.
all they would have done without games that are coming out soon, pre PlayStation 5, big titles, um, that are different than The Last of Us, we would have been hearing all about PlayStation 5.
Yeah.
Whereas Microsoft, they had stuff that they need to show in this generation as they kind of take us into Scarlet. So it makes perfect sense. And as far as being in the room, it was great. And I don't know that Sony would have had the same air because it would have all been
Because it
what's
was
PlayStation 5
breathtaking.
got. It was breathtaking. Indeed, it was.
And then to just continue on with this article, just the last paragraph here, Hideki Yoshida, a analyst at Ace Research Institute, says he believes Sony's stress on large budget games could lessen the variety and lead some customers to switch from rivals such as Nintendo. In contrast, the second Sony official said he expected smaller games would still be released on PlayStation even without extensive Sony support because the popularity of the PlayStation brand makes the platform hard for smaller game developers to ignore. So, the second and last paragraph say Sony is not focusing no longer on indie games to support the box. They're going out there. They're trying to find big publishers to make exclusive content for the Sony brand. And we have a question here from Steve Fontana on Twitter. He asks, Sony's next-gen stance on indie games seems tone deaf to say the least. Do you think they meant that indies just weren't going to be the main focus during the release of the PlayStation 5, or do you think Sony is really going back to the back away from indies in general?
Oh, I'll take this one first right off the bat.
Yeah,
I
go for
think
it.
it's a great question from Steve. In PlayStation 4's launch, they launched with the most powerful console, but they didn't necessarily have the release slate that they wanted to have, and so they had to lean on those indies, and they had to change the narrative from PS3 where they were not necessarily developer friendly.
Yeah.
This indeed, that PlayStation 4 approach kind of opened their arms and said, no, we want all of you here. And PlayStation 4 was easy to code for, PlayStation 3 was not.
Yeah.
Going into PlayStation 5, it looks like Sony, because they've been quiet on a couple of their major heavy fronts, it looks like what they're going to do is talk PlayStation 5 specs, and then they're going to talk Horizon Zero Dawn 2. They're going to talk about what the next Spider-Man game could look like, or whatever their specific high-profile God of War 2s are. They've got that slate, so they don't need to lean on those indies as much. That's my impression of it.
That was my impression of it too. I don't think it's them saying, "Hey, guy," like I feel like anytime Sony makes a statement that is just like a dry statement like this, where it's like no bullshit statement, I guess, no PR fluff, people view it as arrogant, Sony. And sometimes it does come off arrogant, especially when they talk about things like crossplay back a year ago. But when I look at something like this, it's literally them saying, listen, the next line of hardware, we need to show the power of this thing. We need to show the no load time part of this box. And yeah, when it comes to content as king, what are we as PlayStation going to do? We have this huge slew of first party titles that people love, like God of War and Spider-Man. We want to show them what this thing can do with those titles, right? Like Sony back in 2013 is not Sony it was in 2019. You said it like perfectly, where, you know, when 2013, we were talking about how mobile was the future of gaming. You know, and these a lot of developers and publishers were making games for mobile. Like Square Enix and Capcom, I believe, right? And it wasn't until really a year into it, 2 years into the life cycle of these consoles, that we actually saw more games come and hit these consoles because of how well they were selling. So for me, yeah, I understand PlayStation 4, the indies were a huge push in the beginning, but that's because of how the market was set up back then. Now, with the PlayStation 4 and the narrative being they make these awesome narrative experiences, well, for me, I want to see more of that, right? Like, I buy a console for God of War, Spider-Man. I'm not buying it for Guacamelee and my friend's Pedro, right? Like, those things are a bonus, but they're not the end-all, be-all, you know, for me at least. So, with that, I think walking into the PlayStation 5, it's not them saying, we don't need indies. They're just like, no, they're going to be there. Because I think now the place for indies kind of migrated away from the PlayStation, and it has just solely hit the Nintendo Switch so hard that the Switch, to me, is my indie game. Like, it's my indie system, right? That's where I want to play my indies. It just feels right, because that's what I grew up with, those style of games on a Nintendo system. So yeah,
certainly.
Yeah. With that, we got our next goober, and this comes from Rebecca Valentine over at GameIndustry.biz. Jim Ryan says Sony is looking at studio acquisitions. Would you like to read this for me, sir?
I will. Gematsu has translated an interview with Nihon Keizai Shimbun, in which Ryan says Sony is looking at mergers and acquisitions, particularly in light of more competition from companies like Google with Google Stadia. Content is becoming more important than ever before, he said. Companies new to the games industry looking at the market with hope is something that we definitely welcome. Sony Interactive Entertainment has 25 years of experience in the games industry and has big assets. And then that follows up with Robbie Miller asking us, yes, hi, first-time caller here, a long-time listener. Are you as tired of the BS rumors and leaks about the PS-5 as I am? The clickbait 2019 is disgusting and misleading. And I want to find out more. Well, you know, I'm going to have to click on the Trophy Room a PlayStation podcast.
I put this here because not that Rebecca Valentine is putting any type of clickbait nonsense. She's a fantastic reporter, one of the best. But like our last two stories, all about the PlayStation 5, right? The what ifs. You know, last week we talked about PlayStation 5 what ifs. The week before that, I asked Kyle this. I'm going to ask you. Are you tired of all the PlayStation 5 Xbox Scarlet rumors and speculation?
I'm tired of it when there lacks new information. Yes. I don't need rewritten articles. If there's no new information for you to tell me, I don't need to hear it. Articles like, oh, PlayStation 5 is more powerful than PS4 Pro. No kidding.
Yeah.
No kidding. You know?
Yeah.
No way. You know, stuff like that is taxing, and I don't need it. I do not enjoy clickbaity things. I
Yeah.
do recognize that there is a reason I click on certain things, though, and so there's a balance between the two. And I think the content of the article is important.
Yeah, I think, honest to God, the only thing that is turning me away from, I read everything here from like the Wall Street Journal, and what Jim Ryan says excites me about the PlayStation 5. But the things that but what gets me not excited for the PlayStation 5, we're idiots. We're idiots, Luke. But what doesn't excite me for the PlayStation 5 is when I see all these, like, once this article hit, we had all these YouTubers, podcasters just start saying the most ridiculous thing about the PlayStation brand and how it's going to bury the Xbox brand because of how powerful it is, and because, they're focusing on the hardcore gamer. And they took that headline and just kind of ran with it and spun it Alex Jones style into this, like, well, look at how, like, what's Xbox doing? They're running away. Like, it's ridiculous fanfare for the sake of trying to pander to an extreme. Whereas, like, I did a video on, and how I title all my videos on YouTube for the most part are all questions. It's like, here's what I'm talking about, here's my question that I'm going to try to answer at the end of this video. It was just more like, I'm going to pander, I'm going to bash something so that I get people on my corner that like that thing. And for the people that don't like that thing, well, guess what? They're going to share it, they're going to tweet it and call me an idiot, but I'm still going to get more people coming and clicking that link to see how outrageous I am. So it's kind of like people pandering for the clicks because it means more cash. And that's the thing I really don't like about these console generations, or in between consoles, that I don't like, the news stories that kind of surround them. So, like what you said earlier, if it is something like from the Wall Street Journal, from Rebecca Valentine, I'm interested, right? But if it's from like YOLO Sniper 420, I don't give a shit what YOLO Sniper 420 has to say.
Sure.
It's not constructive. I mean, I even go on the other side of the aisle. I saw an Xbox show last week where they were trying to spin that, PlayStation talked about ray tracing. And ray tracing they said that it's not audio ray tracing, that true ray tracing is on the Xbox because of the rumors and leaks they're hearing. So technically Xbox has ray tracing first. And I'm like, what is this? This is nonsense. This is garbage. So it's really about, like, I'm sick of the rumors and speculations, but just the total misleading pandering. I hate the rumors that are like, and we've seen it 4 times now, where we have websites going, Brazil, GameStop leaks out Last of Us hitting September. It's like, no, it's not. There's no way. They just finished motion capture. You didn't. Shut up. Right? Like, that's obviously them putting it in their system so that you can pre-order it. And then everybody's just like, well, you know what? And like, everybody says it at the end of their title. I'm just like, all right.
Yeah. There's a responsibility as content creators, and also a responsibility as consumers and readers. For people that get frustrated with clickbait, are you clicking?
Yeah.
And I always enjoy the comment hero. The number one most upvoted comment is just the details of the article, so that you don't need to scroll through 6 pages of ads.
Mm-hmm.
I just salute whoever that is, and every Facebook post I don't want to read. Thank you. Thank you, comment hero.
Thank you, comment hero. We need you. Not all heroes wear capes. Sometimes they're on message boards. But yeah, like, God, rumor and speculation. It's the worst. With that said, how we do it here on the Trophy Room is like, what are the top 3 things we talk about every week? And that's how I put it in the title. If I can make a good conversation out of something, we'll talk about it. But we're never like, I'm going to put this here because I know it's going to get that click. You know what I mean? Sure. So with that, like, even reading what Rebecca had to say about everything, we just had a long rant about clickbait. Do you even read that quote saying that, so, like, do you even have that feeling that Sony's going to buy anything? Because I read that quote and reading the Wall Street Journal thing, and it kind of read to me like, oh no, we have big assets, as in we have big IP. Like, we don't need to go out, and I read it as a total opposite. We don't need to go out and buy these huge studios. We already have them.
I did not, when I looked at Ryan's words, I was not thinking like, oh, this is them, going to seek out and go on a studio purchasing spree. I did not read it that way,
Yeah.
and it could be just the fact that like Microsoft, not only did they have a gap in single player IP, but they are working on having Game Pass give you quarterly exclusive content. So they
Mhm.
needed those X amount of studios in order to have the cycles to allow that. And so my brain is tuned that way for Microsoft, whereas with Sony, it's tuned to God of War and Horizon and Spider Man.
Yeah.
So I think it's as much they're probably always looking at acquisitions, and it's probably as much PlayStation as it is Big Dad Sony,
Yeah.
telling them what to what they have as far as a budget is concerned. But I didn't read that as like, oh, gotta go
No.
buy
Yeah.
everything.
In fact,
It's just
I
time as well
read
with Remedy.
yeah, like I read the Wall Street Journal article. I read this, and I'm just like, no, this doesn't mean like EA is making them Titanfall 3 exclusively on PlayStation, right? Doesn't mean
Right.
Activision's giving them the next Crash platform game exclusive to PlayStation. I think what it means is you're going to the next Crash game you see will have exclusive PlayStation content to sway you to buy
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation, right? Like that's why
Yep.
you see the Adventures deal. Great example of, hey, get exclusive content here on PlayStation, and that's
Mm-hmm.
what's meant to sway you. And yeah, every so often you'll see the Final Fantasy VII type of timed exclusive deals, but those are going to be few and far between. I think what you're going to see is the studios that don't want to get bought out, they don't have any interest like an Insomniac or From Software or even a Platinum. You're going to see Sony make and approach those companies to make them more exclusive content because it's a mid-risk, high reward. You still have to fund the studio, but if
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't go well like the Order 1886, you could just be like, hey, we just don't want a sequel. And
Sure.
you don't have to lay off the whole studio, and then you could go to somewhere like Bloodborne, and you just like or sorry, From Software, you go, we want Bloodborne 2 if it works out really
Sure.
well. That's what I read it as, and I was just like, Sony ain't buying. Sony doesn't need to buy anyone other than Kojima. To me personally, that's
Mm-hmm.
it. So with that, let's get to the next scooper, shall we?
I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
This one comes from Matt Perslow at IGN. Alan Wake publishing rights acquired by developer Remedy. And oh boy, did we have to talk about this in the Xbox camp as well.
Oh boy.
Remedy Entertainment has acquired the publishing rights to Alan Wake, the supernatural horror originally developed exclusively for Microsoft's Xbox 360. As detailed in a report by Global Newswire, Remedy has just received a one-time payment of 2.5 million euros for royalties on previously released games. In relation to this, the publishing rights of Alan Wake games are reverted to Remedy, says the announcement. Interestingly, earlier before this year, Remedy explained that it actually owns the rights to the Alan Wake IP, but that it's never quite as simple as that. With the development, it would appear that while Remedy owned the IP, the publishing rights lay solely with Microsoft, and so that it would not have been easy for the studio to simply make a sequel. And Joe, if I could add on just
Yes,
one small thing,
please.
uh, Remedy self-published Alan Wake on PC.
Yep.
It was Microsoft that had the IP for console publishing rights. And
Mm,
the point that I want to make it that's in this article is that
please.
it was a one-time payment for previously released games royalties. So it was just royalties that needed to be paid back. And 2.5 million euros is not that much money
Right.
to companies like Microsoft and Remedy that are that large. Not to say it's inconsequential, but this isn't like some grandiose, huge thing.
Yeah.
However, the idea that it's an IP that Microsoft let go that now could come to PlayStation or Switch or anything else brings us to the question that you've got there.
Yeah. And with that, I mean, going multi-platform, it seems like to me a no-brainer because if they bought the console, rights to publish, that means it's probably a remaster or remake heading its way to other platforms, not just PlayStation, but even Stadia, and who knows? You know what? Let's give the Switch some love. They need it every now and again.
Oh
So
yeah.
with that, do you feel you're the Xbox guy? And I feel like we're going to have the same thought here. We're just going to hear stories of how this is the worst thing for Microsoft, right? Because they
Yes.
lost another exclusive. But to me, I'm going to save you here. The game, I think, only sold 4 million units worldwide, if I'm
Mhm.
not mistaken. So it wasn't the biggest hit. It had not to say it sucks or whatever, because it sold
Sure.
not terribly well. It's a critical darling. It's a cult following. But for me, I just see this as an opportunity of them just saying, hey, we want to try to give this another go. Hopefully, the cult following pays off, and people, the the what am I trying to say here? The word of mouth, there you go, is going to carry this game for more sales in the long run. What is your thought piece on it?
It's a news story because Microsoft's single player narratives flopped in this generation,
Yeah.
and I say flopped with a touch of cynicism, because I did enjoy a number of their exclusives, but they were not the heavy hitters that PlayStation had. And so when you lose a game like, or an IP like Alan Wake, that's exclusively a console thing for you, it stings a little bit extra. But you are correct in saying that, commercially it didn't do as well as it did critically, and its cult status meant that expectations were only rising,
Mm-hmm.
for an Alan Wake 2, and that's tough to live up to.
Mm-hmm.
And while it does sting, I don't think anybody was going out to buy an Xbox One, or whatever the new Xbox would be, if Alan Wake 2 was there.
Right.
Not in a mass, big sense. It's not going to sell units the way God of War or Halo, or certain IPs do.
Yeah.
So it stings, but this is not the end of the world. And I think that Alan Wake fans, of which I am a part, this is good news for us, because this means that there is a chance, or a stronger chance, that brand could come back if a remaster or remake does well.
Yeah. I really do hate those stories of like, is this a huge loss for Xbox? I personally don't cover them on my channel or here on the Trophy Room, because it's just like, yeah, it's Alan Wake. It's not like this is the Master Chief Collection hitting PlayStation. You know what
Sure.
I mean? This is a smaller title. It's not their heavy hitter. And when you think of Microsoft and Xbox, you're thinking of Halo and Gears of War and Forza. You're thinking of those big multiplayer experiences. Whereas, like we stated last week, I feel like Remedy would make sense more, their games more on a PlayStation brand, because they are weird. They are single player focused. And when I think of the Sony brand, that's what I'm thinking. They don't typically do multiplayer well, but they do single player games amazingly. And if you're an Alan Wake fan, you're going to be excited, because this is your game and it has a chance to live on. That's awesome. And it can't be, if Microsoft saw this as an opportunity of like, oh no, they would have kept the game, right? They would have kept the rights. They would have even maybe approached Remedy in some form or fashion. Maybe they already did, but like, you would have seen that not stay, you know, or would have stayed rather. So yeah, no, I think you're right here. I think we're right, Luke. I think
That's
we're
good,
right.
man.
Let's get to the
I've
next
always
scuba,
thought I
shall
was
we?
We shall.
Let's talk about Sony changes PlayStation Plus July games, swapping Detroit for PES 2019. This comes from Michael McWhorter from Polygon.
Sony is switching up PlayStation's Plus this month's PlayStation Plus freebies, swapping Quantic Dream's Detroit Become Human and removing the previously announced game from Konami, Pro Evolution Soccer 2019. PlayStation Plus subscribers will still get Horizon Chase Turbo, a retro-inspired arcade-style racer from developer Aquarius Game Studio, and thanks to Sony giving subscribers a digital deluxe edition of Detroit Become Human, they'll also get the PS4 version of Heavy Rain as part of this month's offering.
This was the weirdest thing ever.
It was a little odd.
It was literally like what, Tuesday we hear it, here's your PlayStation Plus games, and it feels like Wednesday, oh yeah, PES is swapped. What do you feel like was the problem here? Was it like everybody saying, oh, this sucks? Like, I know like the word of mouth was like, this is yet again another really slow month for PlayStation Plus, and I thought so too, because you get a PES game every year. You get it usually, I think it's in October, right? In the autumn. So I was just like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'll play Horizon Chase Turbo. But yeah, like everybody was kind of saying, is this a weak month? Is this PlayStation reacting to it was a weak month, or do you think there was something more behind the scenes going on that they changed these games out?
I do not at all think that this is Sony reacting to fan outcry in any way, shape, or form. I think that's remarkably silly for a company to allow precedent to be set that way. Oh, we don't like it. I mean, everybody's going to not like or like something. You see that every week with your sales and deals with gold or flash sales, what have you.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as this is concerned, it very much strikes me as it was probably just a licensing or marketing or region based thing. Maybe it was cleared for certain regions, not others. Perhaps these companies are indeed so large at certain times. One entity or portion of it may not know what the other is doing and talking about, and it could have just been deals coming down to the last minute.
Yeah.
But I don't think at all it had anything to do with people outcrying, and I don't enjoy the people that complain about the not necessarily free games you get every month with games with gold or PlayStation Plus, but recognizing that there's value in something that you may not have purchased yourself, you could get some enjoyment out of. And Horizon Chase Turbo, just as a personal note, I love that game. It is absolutely a blast. If you like to outrun, man, Horizon Chase Turbo is the jam.
Dude, it looks cool, and I can't wait to play it for free, or ish.
Yep.
Sorta.
It's a perfect game for that. Yeah, ish. It's that weird model.
To me, I just think this is a weird news story. It's cute. It's weird. And yeah, for like a lot of people are going, well, I already bought Detroit. And like, there was a little bit of outrage because there was like an E3 sale that marked the game down to $8. Mm-hmm. And I'm just like, nobody's upset. Nobody's upset if you spent $8 on this.
And more to the point, if you already bought Detroit and you liked it, you should be happy that more people can enjoy something you liked, because that only increases brand awareness for you to get more of that kind of product.
That, and it's the digital deluxe version, which means we're getting Heavy Rain.
Oh, it's David Cage's game. David Cage. He makes very fancy games.
Is that Bane? Is Bane?
No, that was my Sean Connery, and then Bane showed up as well.
Nobody cared who I was until I made Fahrenheit.
Oh, no.
Jason!
Yes.
Jason, what a lovely voice. We're awful human beings. But you're getting Heavy Rain, which is, I think we saw that on like a PlayStation Plus month. Someone let me know if I'm wrong here, but either way, dope. Can't wait. That's awesome. Yeah. You know, I like it. And the next news story, I'll do this one. This is a Flash story. Spider-Man PlayStation 4 gets 2 Spider-Man Far From Home crossover suits, and they're free. Where did I get this from? I don't know. It comes from Games Radar, and who's the author? Who's their author? Connor Sheridan. What up, Connor? There you go. There's your shout out. A pair of suits from Spider-Man Far From Home are now playable on the PlayStation 4 with the latest update from Insomniac's open world web-slinger. The 2 suits let the iteration of Peter Parker cosplay as the MCU version of Peter Parker in his new and improved upgraded suit and cheeky, extra sneaky suit. Cool. This is dope. I love when I see Insomniac continuously support this game the way they have. I think it's awesome. I think this is excellent.
Agreed.
Awesome.
Very much so.
I actually not downloaded, it was already there. I actually played Spider-Man again just for these suits, just to go into photo mode. And, oh my god, dude, the upgraded suit is so dope. It's so crazy cool. Yeah, oh god, that game's beautiful. And then lastly, we enter. Hey, Luke, can you hold on to something real fast?
Yeah, man. I got my hold on to it right now.
All right, are you? Hold on tight, though. Okay, you're bracing yourself. Prepare the drop. Each and every week, PlayStation drops the latest and greatest in all things video games. Every single Tuesday. Oh no, he let go. Luke's falling. Audio listeners, this is a terrible sight to see. But the fact is, there are too many awesome experiences, so we have to narrow it down to one game each. My pick this week is Apex Legends Season 2. It's awesome. Game's great, right, Luke? I love it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, goodness, yes.
Support it. Kyle's pick was Sea of Solitude, and the description is, when humans get too lonely, they turn into monsters. Set sail across the beautiful and evolving world of darkness and light, and discover what it means to be human. Embark on a nuanced and intimate action-adventure where players guide Kay through her sea of solitude in this touching tale of darkness and light. Awesome. Cool, dope. This is from the lady, I think 2 years ago, right? EA stage. She came out. She was so nervous, passionate about this game that looks beautiful. I'm on board. Kyle's on board. And with that...
hold on. My choice was Tour de France Season 2019.
Is that really a game?
That's a game. Yes.
Oh my god, let me look this up. I don't believe you. The Drop. We got a lot of anime stuff. Brain Breaker, Final Fantasy. That's a
Tour
thing.
de France.
And I'm still trying to find Tour de France.
It's
Oh,
there.
Stranger. Yeah, holy shit. That's. And who could forget Bora? Hey, Hands
He's
Grill.
looking at a whole bunch of names. Yeah, there's some very oddly titled things.
You know what? Can I read the description to this, Luke?
I would love to hear it.
All right.
Let's hear it.
The yellow jersey is yours. The official route of the 21 stages of the 2019 Tour de France has been reproduced down to the very last detail and will take you from Belgium and to the Champs Elysees. Oh shit, that was French. You can also play online for the first time in history of the series, challenging up to 3 players in shorter, intense races. Champs Elysees, I think is like Champs Elysees. I think I'm getting it. I'm getting closer.
You got me.
I'm
got
either
me.
getting closer or I'm getting more offensive.
Definitely more offensive. Perhaps closer too, but definitely more.
Oh, Luke, it's been a pleasure having you here. Everybody, check out Tour de France 2019. I don't even know how much this game is, but you know what? It's worth it.
Oh no.
Before I go out and steal Andrew House's mail and talk about all the memories that we've had over the last 100 episodes-ish, kind of, sort of, not really, of the trophy room, Luke, would you like to pitch your stuff before I let you go?
Oh yes, I'm a member of the Xbox Drive podcast that I do with my good friend Sean Capri. So you guys are welcome to check that out. We release every Thursday, very much the way the Trophy Room does, and that's at the Xbox Drive on Twitter, and then of course your podcast services. And then you can find me on Twitter at MLS Reserves or streaming over on my Mixer channel at mixer.com/insipidghost, and you will find Mr. Babbitt there quite often as well.
Yeah, right. Pretty much. Thank you so much, Luke, for coming, saving the show the way you have. It means a lot to me. Now, Luke, what I didn't tell you beforehand is how I'm going to know to end the show right here is we're going to do something the Game Informer show does and how they outro people. Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. We're going to clap our hands. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Close enough. Because this is technically not really episode 100 of the Trophy Room, I said, hey, could you bring us your favorite memories or some questions you'd like to ask us on our 100th episode? And so Bohotep writes in, like you can too, at PS Trophy Room on Twitter or the Casa de Bad Bit, or you can send it to Andrew House and I steal it. And he says the following. Well, sir, I've tagged along for about a year now and have enjoyed every bad bit of it. I gotta say, I love the pun, dude. I love this man. I enjoy the personality of the hosts as well as the cast of guests characters. Characters like Spider-Bit, Spooky Bit, the Toast Sandwich Western Guy Bit. And of course, my favorite, Sadistic Mickey, at least someone does, kicking ass. Keep bringing the fun and positivity. Here's to 100 more episodes. Thank you, Boho. That means the world to me, man. It's amazing. Again, thank you so freaking much. Kyle, on to the next one. And this one, Kyle, here's why I kind of hate you this week. The most famous Seamus is about to make me cry by writing in, like you can too. I didn't have the strength. I read this, and it's fucked with me all day because I tear up every time.
To read it?
Nope, you're almost dead, and I don't want you to die. So, with that, let me read. I don't know whether this would count as a trophy room moment, but my favorite moment is when you and I were a part of the special episode of the Warp Whistle podcast for November 2018, the Nindies edition. And after talking with you, I decided to watch the Trophy Room podcast, which unfortunately was the one that happened after the shooting at the Madden tournament. But I listened to your reaction and speech you gave about all the mass shootings happening at that time. Ending with you listing all the mass shootings that have happened at that time, and that told me what kind of man you are, Joe. A man who stands up for what's right, no matter how many assholes yell about how wrong you are. I also mentioned the time I told you about the Mermaids fundraiser and your response to my question about the New Zealand shootings. You're not only a good man, Joe, you're a great man with principle and integrity. And I thank you for that.
Well said, James.
Well said, man.
It's yeah. I feel the same way about Joe. Joe, you're incredible human being. I'm here because of you, and thank you.
Listen, you can't add to the crying right now.
I know. I can't make my other eye puffy. I can't do it.
Because then you'll just go blind, and then
exactly.
Like you're just gonna. I don't even know.
On the Xbox Drive.
Why am I in my car? Yeah. Thank you, Seamus. That means a lot. Again, when you're in the position, whatever size content creator you are, you have a responsibility to yourself. You have a power. You have influence. Like, you're a role model. And I know that like sounds crazy to some, but like in a week where we're arguing about people filming in a bathroom or how to treat people, whether they're media outlets or not, with some type of respect, it is important to say that if you are a content holder, you create content, whether it's podcast, whether it's writing, whether it's video, you owe it to everyone. When you see something, you say something. And thank you very much. Last month we did the, shining a light on LGBTQ creators, and Fiona asked, this is actually the next question out of the 100 episodes, what's your favorite? It's those two, because it was a sense of giving back. And it was awesome. It was awesome. And seeing how many people came up to me going, I didn't understand pansexuality, but now I do. I didn't understand, transgender, but now I do. And their struggle. And even just thanking me for just having those people on to shine that spotlight was beautiful to see. So you have a responsibility, whether you like it or not, to be the best person you want to be, so that people can have someone to look up to say, I want to be like that person. With that, Kyle, I got a question for you. Again, this comes from Fiona. Out of the 100 episodes, what was your favorite episode / topic?
Oh, man. That's a tough one.
I know.
And honestly, it feels like we've been doing this for way longer than 100 episodes in air quotes. So it's kind of a blur, but I will say, when we did our Game of the Year show last year, Game of the Year show, that was awesome.
Yeah.
That is something I've always wanted to do, much like me being on a PlayStation podcast. I wanted to give a Game of the Year, and I got to do that with you, and we gave it to God of War, which was well deserved. That is one of my favorite episodes for sure.
Yeah.
I can't wait to yell at you about how Bloodborne is so bad. That might be my favorite episode soon.
Bad, Kyle? Bad? Watch your fucking tone, Kyle. Maybe I'm the one getting you sick. Maybe you ever think about that? Maybe I'm sending those kids your way?
Honestly, as much shit, I'm sorry, Tim Wolfson, as much shit as I give you for your characters, those are some of my favorite moments. I sit here and I'm in awe where you can pull off these voices, and I'm just sitting here like, I can't do that. I try. Like, I'm no joke, everybody who's listening to this or watching this. When Joe does a character, after we're done recording, I sit over here in my chair and I try that voice. It doesn't work. It never works.
So I'll be, by God, my name is Cletus Jackson, and you can't do that now? Well, that's pretty crazy.
By God, it's Cletus Jackson. No, see, I can't do it.
You got it. You got it. Favorite moment right there. You guys caught it. Yeah, my favorite 2 episodes were definitely the ones we literally just did. But there are moments in the show where you walk away from an episode and you're just like, we got something. And I think I could place the moment of Spider-Bit actually being the start of me letting go of being serious and just letting into the wacky nature. And that has been something that people look forward to somehow each and every week. And yeah, there are like moments like the past few months where I'm just like, oh, this feels good. We have something. We have like, I feel like the momentum. And that's what I've been loving lately is that feeling. With that, let's go into Blaze Knight's question. What games from each iteration of PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3, etc., would you buy at full price $60 if it were remade with modern graphics / game design on the PlayStation 5? Similar to that of Final Fantasy 7. Does it have to be PlayStation exclusive? Kyle, what is your picks?
All right, so starting at PlayStation 1.
Yes.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater.
Remember when they did that, though? Sometimes you don't want it, what you wish for.
No, like, with the care and dedication that Final Fantasy 7 is getting. That's where I'm going with this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so Tony Hawk Pro Skater / Star Ocean Second Story, because that's one of my favorite RPGs of all time. PS2, the one that got me started on PS2, Grand Theft Auto 3.
Ooh.
Fully remade, and Liberty City. Yeah, for sure. PS3, we kind of already are getting those.
Yeah.
So it's kind of hard for me to pick one from the PS3 era.
I know one for you.
Already gotten one. Do you?
I do.
Okay.
Resistance.
Oh fuck yes. Sorry, Tim Son. Yeah, Resistance. For sure. Yeah, I can't believe I forgot about that.
Yep. Yeah, for me, PlayStation 1 game that I would want that treatment, definitely Siphon Filter. Such a dope game, man. Give it to me, put it in my veins.
Yeah.
From the PlayStation 2 era. Now, here's the thing. The Heart of Hearts, I would like to say Ratchet and Clank, but we already got that on PlayStation 4 because as a kid, that was the game on PlayStation I really loved. I loved Ratchet and Clank, but second to that, it's a fight between Jak and Daxter, 1 through 3. It's like a collection. That's what we're doing. Or Time Splitters, because that's another game I spent God knows how, and just thinking how in a Overwatch world that would work. That would so work, and THQ's working on it. So I would like to say, in my heart of hearts, Jak and Daxter.
That'd be cool.
And maybe that is the game Blue Point's making after all.
Oh, really?
Because they say it's third person.
Oh,
God, one would hope.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh, it could be.
Dude, that's what I want. And then PlayStation 3. That's a harder one. Because, yeah, I feel like we're getting all of those games already. But I would then say what I would like to see from the PlayStation 3. I'm going to take the easy one out, all right? I'm going to say Demon Souls. Give me a Demon Souls.
That's fair.
With the Bloodborne mechanics I love.
That wasn't a pointed jab at me at all.
No. Yeah, we're also looking for a new co-host. Anyway, Mr. Moody writes in.
Also, I just thought of another one for PS3.
Infamous.
Oh,
shit. Yes. Mr. Moody writes, what games have been the hits and misses this year for you so far? What game has hit for you? What game has missed?
Let me look at the shelf, because I told you that what I've played this year.
Okay, I can tell you what has missed for me, and a lot of people are gonna throw hate at my way. And
I know exactly what you're gonna say. I think.
What?
Are you gonna say Days Gone?
No.
Oh.
I played a little game this week called Crash Team Racing.
Oh.
After all the hype, they're like, guys, this is so great. Oh my God, Crash Team Racing. This is such a great game back in the PS1 era. Oh my God, it's gonna dethrone Mario Kart. I played it. Okay. I played it. We can all end the conversations here. For whoever's twisted mind thought that this game's better than Mario Kart, or even capable of Mario Kart, you're out of your goddamn mind. I hated it. I hated every single minute of it. And why? Because I'm an old man. I got old man fingers, and there's just way too much to the drifting mechanics. The AI in that game will kick my ass over and over again. That's been a big miss for me. Because it was a game I was legitimately looking forward to, and then when I played it, it was just not for me. That sucks. What's been a huge hit? I'm going to say 2 games right now. Ghost Giant PSVR and Blood and Truth PSVR. And honestly, if I have to say the big hit this year for me, PSVR. It's been so awesome. So yeah, that's my big hits. What are your hits and misses?
I'm trying to look through what came out this year because I've been playing catch up for most of it.
Yeah.
Days Gone, it might be a miss for me, but I still have to go back and finish. I wasn't as down on it as other people, but
you're still down on it.
Finished it. So like,
yeah.
What does that tell you?
It tells me a lot, Kyle. It tells me a lot.
It tells you a lot.
Yeah.
I still love Vacation Simulator for sure. Trover Saves the Universe was a hit for me.
So would you also say that, you know what, just like PSVR overall has been...
Honestly, yeah. And
yeah.
It's
really hitting...
deserved.
Yeah, it's really hitting its stride.
Yeah.
I love it. With that, Adam Watson writes in. This year, I gave gear-based shooters a chance, and now they are some of my favorite. They're one of my favorite genres. What are types? Are there? Let me just read this over because I'm fucking up what Adam wrote. Why? Because I'm playing around with the screen like an idiot. This year, I gave gear-based shooters a chance, and now they are one of my favorite genres. Are there any types of games that you have given another try and found out that you loved? Kyle, what's a genre? What's a genre, man? You were like, oh my god, I don't like this. Now I love it.
This is kind of a cop-out answer for me. But there are no real games that I don't like playing. I like playing at almost all the different types of genres.
Yeah.
But maybe the more like arcade shoot 'em up stuff.
The shmups, as the kids call them.
Didn't play a lot of them as a kid, but especially with Housemarque and Resogun PS4, that ignited a fire in me that I that game in particular I love, and I will try pretty much any of that kind of genre now.
All right. Yeah. For me, I say it all the time. It's my ride or die. We've mentioned it a lot already in the past 15 minutes. It's a little game called Bloodborne. Okay, why? Not because it's just one of the single-handedly one of the best crafted games, but because back in the day I used to view Dark Souls, Demon Souls as these games are too hard. They're way too hard. I can't even. Once I played Bloodborne, it clicked with me in such a way that I started playing games outside my genre because it was just like, hey, I didn't think I'd like Bloodborne. Ended up being one of my favorite games of all time, right? Like I would then go off and play games like The Witcher. And yeah, like RPGs of that nature aren't my thing. Like I'm trying Persona out for the first time. Devil May Cry 5. Holy crap. The hack and slash type of games I suck at. But I'll play them because I want to give them a chance. So that really opened my eyes to many genres that I ended up falling in love with. So yeah, Adam Watson, great freaking question, my man. With that, our last question comes from Nathan. And he writes, while looking at the episode 100, let's predict into the future and predict the stories for episode 200 and 300 that you'll be covering. All right, Kyle. Sure. Yeah. We have to peer into not just this year, right? Not just next year, but the year after that. So you're figuring we are in the first year of the PlayStation 5. Like the first year went, or now we're entering year 2. No, yeah, we're in year 1. So no, year 2. I don't know. Dyslexic. That's you just saw my brain try to do math. What story are we covering? This is a great question. I love this one.
So yeah, like you said, year 2 of
Yeah.
PS5.
Yeah.
What IP will come back?
Not IP. What story? What story
No,
would we be
that's
covering?
what I mean.
Oh,
When
okay.
I
You're
think of like what PlayStation game franchise is coming back? And you know what? I'm going to say it right now. It's Nathan Drake's daughter. She's in her own Uncharted game, and we're going to be talking about that. And yeah. As far as like episode 300, I mentioned it earlier in the show. It's the holograms. We're going to be playing games with holograms.
You know what, dude? I'm on board with the holograms. I am so pro holograms. Yeah, we're gonna be like episode 300. Hey, remember when we thought streaming was the future? Actually, holograms. You can make people out of fucking thin air. Episode 200 for me, I would like to say we have finally bridged the divide between crossplay and now all games have crossplay functionality. And that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the old times, the dark era, where we were, we had to exclusively love PlayStation and nothing more. We couldn't play with our Xbox friends just because they chose the wrong console. That's what I'd like to be talking about. What game I would be talking about in episode 200? Probably how much I'm loving Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation 4.
I almost said Horizon Zero Dawn 2.
That's definitely one too. Yeah. God, I can't see the one thing when it comes to like the PlayStation 5 talk that I can't wait is when we get to next year's E3. What like the launch games will be predicting,
Absolutely. Oh my god.
The hashtag rumored leaked shocked face. You're not gonna believe what's coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Maybe even we're talking about like Last of Us 3. No, in a year, like we're thinking 2 years from now, we're talking about Kojima's next sequel to Death Stranding. It's like Life Stranding. Because it's a Strand game. He's made his own genre and it has peaked. Everybody's doing it now. Ubisoft has its own Stranding game.
No.
It's called Rayman Stranding.
Rayman's just in that pod. In the fluid. He's just floating around.
It's a little rabbit. It's just like,
yeah.
Give it a little thumbs up. I'm a fucking dick. Yeah. But I'm also thinking Rayman because he doesn't have like limbs. He just has floaty bits. So they're like, he's getting Marty McFly from Back to the Future 1. Like he's looking at a photo and like his hands just going invisible, Give me a Back to the Future game. That's what we're talking about in episode 300. We're talking about a Back to the Future game. Role playing, you get to be Marty's son? ? And you're an asshole. No, there's two options: good guy and an asshole.
when you said Back to the Future game, I thought of a game where like you have to beat it within a certain time, or a game vanishes from your PlayStation.
Oh my god, that's awful.
I know.
And it's like ironically PT again.
Absolutely.
Fuck Konami. With that, Kyle, that has been episode 100 of The Trophy Room. Again, we have our special episode coming out, Bad Bit Games, on July 12th. If you haven't, or if it's already past the 12th, well, guess what? You could go on youtube.com/badbitgames. It's there for your viewing pleasure. But if you're, just free, available, 8 o'clock PT, EST time, go on, drop by into the chat. We're doing this to fundraise for our good friend Katie Berto. She is going to undergo surgery to prevent cancer, and we're trying to raise money for that. So if you guys could, we have a giveaway for this dope-ass PlayStation mug. We already have a few entries. Every $5 we raise, or you put in, goes to a ticket to get one of these dope-ass trophy mugs. So, yeah. Again, July 12th, be there, be square. With that, Kyle, what would you like to plug, sir?
Well, you can find me at the Walking Clinic you could find me on Twitter at WhoDatNinja73, and on PSN, same thing. My show all about the Kind of Funny community. Best Friends Talk Funny on Twitter at BFS Talk Funny, and wherever you listen to podcast services. And then the Kinda NYC podcast, Dollar Slice, is at Dollar Slice Pod on Twitter.
And you can find me at Bad Bit Games, where we talk about all things PlayStation and games. You can find this show on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Podbean, wherever there's an RSS feed service. You can find the show here. Please rate us 5 stars. It really helps. And everyone, thank you so very much for supporting this show technically for 100 episodes. It means a whole lot to me and Kyle, and we wouldn't be here without you. So with all that said, with all that out of the way, everybody keep hunting and keep playing PlayStation.